All right, so I'm Matt DeBarra, otherwise known as the Undercover Contractor, and today I have with me Jeremy. Now, I'm really excited to have Jeremy on today because Jeremy's got a very unique perspective. Jeremy works for the largest building materials supplier in California. And what I think is so unique about what Jeremy does and why I think it'll be really valuable is because he works as a materials representative. So he matches materials for projects. And well, among a lot of other things, of course. But what I think is really unique is that Jeremy's seated at the very beginning of a project in pre-construction and design, and then he sees that project all the way through to the end. And he kind of is somebody who sees all the issues in a project. When the architect, the engineer, or the general contractor make a mistake, it usually then brings Jeremy back into the project to figure it out. Well, that's the wrong material because it wasn't correct or whatnot. So I think he's got a really unique perspective. This is going to be a super fun episode. Thanks for being on the show, Jeremy.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's going to be fun.
So tell me a little bit about your background. Before we dive in too deep, tell me a little bit about how you got into construction. Like, where did all this start?
Fellow East Coast,
yes,
right?
Yep.
Moved out here, went to school for architecture, just got into sales through family, never stopped. Got into this. I love talking to people, and it's just it's a unique world, as you can say. There's nothing like it. It's its own little entity within building.
Now, a lot of people get into construction, right? And then they fall out of it. What do you think has kept you in it? What do you think pulled you into this industry?
It's kind of what you said. I love being in the process, start to finish. It's as a contractor, you can come in at the 11th hour, or you can be in at the beginning. Somebody has a crazy idea, I can help make it real, see it through, and then I can watch you build it. That's fun. There's not many industries you get the whole spectrum like that.
Yeah, I think that's really, really cool. And I think that also it's something where, like you touched upon it. I mean, how much enjoyment and fulfillment do you get out of knowing that something you built is going to be here for?
I love it, man. That's my favorite part. Moving out to California, doing a job at Disney, I'm like, oh man, how many people from around the world are going to see this job I worked on?
Yeah.
Start on somebody's crazy idea and see it there. There's nothing like it. It's awesome.
Do you feel like it's art? Do you feel like
100% art?
Yeah.
If people encompass and think about it the right way, that's what leads to problems. It should be art. You're building something, it's going to be there. You don't want it to be half-ass. It's got to be good.
Now, if we pulled out your phone right now and started scrolling through your phone, I'm betting, I don't know this, we haven't talked about this yet, I'm betting it would look like mine. Is there lots of photos of jobs and projects? Is that?
I had to just make a new iCloud thing because my last one was full. I couldn't even get them all off. Yeah. It's just photo, job, brick. I stop while I'm driving and I take a picture or something just because I'm like, man, somebody would want this idea somewhere. That's the only way to do it. Got to be outside the box all the time.
And it's funny because I notice that in everybody that I feel like, and I made this distinction before about contracting versus what I call like ethical contracting, right? Which is people who I find that are ethical, they really got into this because it's art, because they love it, and that's the one thing I find is I find that if somebody really loves this business, I could pull out their phone and I could look at 10 photos and be like, you love your aspect of construction.
100%. It's pride.
Yeah.
That's what you can see. Anybody can put anything up on a building. They can think they can do it, but they cannot. They definitely cannot. And it's pride. It's just a sense of ownership. You want to see something and be proud of what's done. So
yeah.
I don't want to look at something that was half-assed. Why? That's my name. That's your name. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And that's really what the Undercover Contractor is all about, is really, this whole brand, this idea is about pulling back the curtain so that homeowners, so that you listening right now can learn some of the tips, tricks, techniques to avoid these scams. It's really about saying, what's the information that contractors are entitled to because they know other contractors, and how do we get it to, a homeowner so that they understand it and as well. But so I got a really cool surprise for you in front of you here. Before we dive into things too deep, I got a couple things. So I have a red Solo cup. I have 2 pieces of tape. I have 4 number 2 pencils. I have 8 straws, scissors, and I have a tape measure. Now this here's mine. The rest of this is yours. So I know your resume is great. I know that what you've done is amazing in the industry. I know how much pride you take in what you do. You set the bar real high. So we got 2 minutes on the clock. Here's what you're doing. You're going to build the tallest structure that you can. We're going for height. Now, it can look pretty if you can do that too, but we're going for height. And what I'm going to do at the end is I'm going to measure it. So
okay.
You look excited, you look nervous, you look focused.
I'm intrigued.
I like it.
Let's see what we got here.
Do you want a second to think about this? Boom, that's your second. All right,
there
cool.
We go. Hit me with it.
We're going to kick it off. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
And you can do whatever you want. Oh, interesting. Interesting strategy. I like that.
Come on. All right. Come on, baby. Go in. There we go.
Look at this. This is very well thought out. Oh, shoot. Through the... Wow, look at that. That is really, 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 really smart.
Let's get this thing going.
Wow, look at this. You had no time to prepare.
There is no preparing this one. For anybody watching this, this is totally impromptu. Let's see what we got going here. We're going to set the bar legitimately high right off the bat.
Dude, you're not messing around here.
No, this
Look
is
at
going to
this.
backfire, though, right here.
Oh, it's okay.
All right, here we go.
I'm going to help.
The nerves. A minute of pressure. I'm feeling it here.
Yeah, see, this is like any other construction project here. Wow.
All right,
I'm impressed. I'm not going to lie.
Let's see if we can get
I'm impressed. Look at this. This is outside the box thinking. It looks great. Wow.
We're going tall.
Look at that. He's standing up.
We're going New York style
He's
height here,
standing.
ladies and gentlemen.
He's standing up right now. He is off the chair. He's standing on his 2 feet because
Come on,
he's
baby.
got so much height.
Come on.
Wow. I didn't think about anybody building this taller than them. I didn't even factor on anybody having a stand. This is next level.
Oh, the nerves. Just stay.
I would not want to play you in Jenga. Let me tell you that. Or
That's
any
my
strategy game.
How long does it have to stand for when it's done?
Just long enough to measure it.
All right. Come on, baby.
Wow, look at the confidence here. Ooh, the confidence, 13, 12.
This one's not going to stay. Nope.
All right. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, look at that. He's got it.
Stay.
All right.
Yeah,
I'll
measure
get the
quick.
measurement I'll get the measurement quick. 22 inches.
Oh,
22 inches. Look at that.
I'm feeling confident right out of the gate.
Look at that. Wow. That was good. That was really good. I'm thoroughly impressed. So you've proven yourself. You know what you're talking about.
Let's see.
You're creative. I like that, man. Seriously. I'm not going to lie. I don't know that that's the strategy I would have gone for, man. That was real smart. So let's dive in here, right? Tell me a little bit about one of the first, kind of contracting memories that you have as a, young starting out in this business.
So coming from the East Coast, I went nuts.
Yeah.
I want to have some ideas.
Okay. All right. I like that.
It's,
I like that.
It's a hard thing to say, and you want to go positive, negative, whatnot. Construction in general, hard world to get into. Not easy. Let me forget. Easy world to get into, hard world to become credible in, because there's so much variety and talent and quality.
That's why we have the challenge.
That's the
Just
challenge. So the first thing, probably my favorite memory early on, coming in, going to school for architecture, getting into sales, like, okay, let me make a name. People don't want to deal with a young kid. They're like, oh, he's cocky, he's him, whatever. But started working on a police station back east, high profile, and beat out all my competition. Had to fight every day. And all the old Masons, all the old contractors said, we don't want to work with you. You're new. You're just going to be gone. Got this job, got the credibility, and it was great. Got me on the map, and grateful forever from there.
What do you think was the one unique factor that really, had the most impact? What do you think was most unique about you at that time?
I think it was just a fresh vision. Contracting's been around, generation after generation, and it's not something that adapts well. There's a lot of dinosaurs that are out here, and that happens everywhere. Bringing a fresh perspective in, kind of going a new approach, using different tips and tricks, such as what we're going to get into. That really got me on the map and kind of gave me a face in front of these old school people, which are set in their ways.
Yeah,
they came around.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and it's funny. I sometimes forget how much construction lags other industries, right? Like contracting as a whole is just it's that adage of like, I've done it this way for this much time and it's served me well, but all these other factors have changed, right? The expectations have changed, technology's been introduced. So it's so funny you bring that up. I think that's really, really I feel like that's part of why, and I want to get your opinion on this, on why that it's harder to distinguish between contractors and how to avoid a lot of this stuff, is because there's an old way of doing things, but currently we need a new way to understand it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. And I think that the to bring that kind of around, there's a lot of forward thinking in design. Part of what's bringing this in here is the idea of I'm able to be on things early, and people have grand ideas. We're in the heart of LA where it's architecture central. People want to look like they fold a napkin up, drop it on a table, and make a house. How do you build that? We can design it all day, but you have to have a contractor that can think outside the box, as opposed to the guy stuck in his ways. He was going to come into your job and just try to change it because it's what he's comfortable with. So do you want a contractor that is on your page and can execute your vision? Or do you want somebody who's going to come in and chop your job apart?
How do you know? Like, let's say we're hiring. I mean, we'll give a kind of a specific example here. How do I know that I have somebody who's open to creative concepts versus someone who's stuck in their ways, right? Both contractors want to make money, right? There's finances involved. So what would be one way you could tell? So
the biggest thing I say, if you're working on something early, you have to trust the opinions of people that you're working with. You have to have key people along the process. That's where my relationships come in as the material side on the beginning. I know what the owner's vision is, that they hired a contractor, hired an architect or a designer, and I know who can take that and make it real. If I look at a person who's a contractor and I'm looking at his resume, I'm looking at his body of work, going, I don't care if he's the cheapest guy. This is not an opportunity to lose money, because you can be cheap up front and it's going to cost you for the rest of that job. And he's going to pocket all your money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's really just something that you have to trust people that are in your pipeline of relationships. You got to have vendors, which are huge. They know the contractors that are reliable.
Makes sense.
They know the people that are trustworthy to put up the products that they're working with. You trust trust contractors as well, but you have to do your research. You cannot just go to Google, search, I need a carpenter, put it in, and take the first one.
Yeah.
Chances are they paid a lot to get there because that's all they want. They just want their name, and they go.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting what you said there too, when you said, reaching out to the vendors, because that's one way that, if you're a contractor, right? And this is something I've done and have seen a lot of, is in contracting, it's like, well, I need to refer, I have a project and this part of the job, I need to refer somebody. And I'm not going to make money on that referral, but if they screw this up, it's going to make my life miserable. So what do? We reach out to the vendors and we do all this, but on the homeowner side, where is the marketing that tells you, they tell you to go on lead generation sites and to go to Google and all that, which is convenient, right? Because those sites make money every time that you click or you call, right?
Super convenient.
But nobody's saying call up the vendors and ask them, hey, do you have a contractor you work with that can do X, Y, and Z? I think it's a really powerful distinction. What's one of the funniest stories you have? What's real, no BS, lay it out. What's one of the funniest contracting stories that you remember?
So in the spectrum of terrible contractors, it actually gave me a funny story. But so I was working on a house. They had awesome design, thought it through, really great. They went with the low bid, backfired in the way that I get out to the job site. The homeowner's kind of complaining they don't like the material, and I'm looking at them going, I wouldn't like this material either, because they installed everything on the whole job backwards. So they opened up all the packaging. It was a brick job. They took all the brick out and they installed them backwards. Didn't even know it because they weren't qualified to do it.
Yeah.
The homeowner wouldn't pay for it. They ended up the whole job, they just left and installed backwards.
Oh my gosh.
Can't you make it up? Can't even make that up.
Yeah. How do you?
It bridges, but I'm laughing at it. I'm going, this is what you guys got.
Yeah.
You're looking at them, looking at this whole building. It's all backwards. I know it. Somebody who's in the material industry would recognize it. And I'm just thinking, how does that happen? I'm looking at this going, this is hilarious. These people are mine. How can that contractor even be real? Who would hire somebody like that?
Now, let me ask you a question now. Is there ever a time have you seen jobs where the lowest price does good work?
Don't say that the lowest price is always bad, but you have to approach it with a red flag. I was kind of given a cardinal rule early on, and if there's 3 bidders, always start in the middle. The lowest has a flag, the high has a flag, start in the middle and work up and down. You could have a really great guy who's just able to bid the job competitive. They could have resources that the other ones don't to help their process be more economical, which in turn saves them money on their bid.
Yeah.
You have to vet that. You have to research. You have to check references. You have to see jobs that they've done. There's just no getting around it, but you have to be going in with a red flag.
Yeah, so you're saying that we need to dive in real deep and understand all the bids, because price is made up of all these different factors. And if we don't know the factors, this is one of the things I talk about in my book, The Undercover Contractor, How to Not Get Screwed by Your Contractor, is, diving in and understanding price.
Yep.
This price is a result of all these factors, right? A low price might mean, and I'm sure you've seen this, it might mean I don't have a lot of work right now, or I have a gap in my schedule. So now all of a sudden that low price, it could be somebody who's high quality, but they need to fill a gap. Or it could be somebody who's never done the job before. So how do you know all these different factors? I mean, what are some tips and tricks that you've seen kind of really dealing with reputable contractors? Because when you're selecting the right material, the architect designs it, they specify a material, the homeowner wants it to look a certain way. It's really important the contractor installs it right. I mean, what are you seeing out there in terms of the right contractors and being able to spot them? Because we've talked about this prior, outside of this, and there are indicators that you've seen before.
Okay, red flag number 1. If they show up in a beat up pickup truck that doesn't have words spelled correct, probably not the guy.
Yeah.
I saw this the other day. I'm in traffic and I'm looking at this beat up pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
This says they do concrete work. They spelled concrete wrong.
Wow.
Probably a red flag that you're not going to want to use that guy.
Yeah.
Okay. But, to go for, in a serious note, you have to just research. You have to, you need a record of clients that they've worked with, because at the end of the day, that's the tell all. If they have 100 references and they're all happy with the work, chances are, even if they're the low bid, there's probably something behind that.
Should we go see the work too? How do we know they're real?
100%. You need to go and you need to look at things with your own eyes. You're going to build a house that you're going to look at. That's your house. You have to live in it, not the contractor.
Yeah.
So you want to see jobs they've completed, they look good. Or else you're going to look every day and go, what the fuck did I do? Why is it like that? I should have maybe gone to one job they did, maybe 2. But you have to do your research. You can't just hire somebody off words. 100%.
Got it. No, I love that. What's one of the craziest contractor scams that you've ever seen?
It's in the commercial world, but it's one that just bridges all gaps. And it's one I was working on a project. This guy was trying so hard. He didn't want to work with us. So when we go into contractors, they have their relationships with vendors. Didn't want to work with me. Was so dead set getting some discount from a competitor of mine that fought tooth and nail. Not to the knowledge of the homeowners or this job, anything. Just did it on the back end because he wanted money.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it changed. So now this job has liquidated damages. Some houses do things along those lines where you have a schedule, you have to meet it, or else it's on the contractor to make up the money for lost time. He hit the deadline and then tried to bribe me to backdate invoices for material to show that he never tried to change it and order it.
Wow.
Because as a cover his ass.
Wow.
And I'm going, how can you even exist? Like, how are you a contractor?
Yeah.
This homeowner, and at that point I had to go to homeowner. I'm going, this is what's happening. Do I lose a relationship that really didn't exist? Yeah, but it's at the end of the day, my name is my name. Just like your name is your name. It's how we survive.
Yeah.
You're as good as your reputation.
Yeah, and it's sad. I think it's so sad, right? Because you have, it reminds me of a story. I went out on a bid. They were selling a hillside home, and there was these wooden railroad tie walls. And I know all the hillside, ordinances and codes and whatnot. And so I went out there, and basically I was told the homeowner, I was like, look, you have a lot of money here. I'm like, I can put you in touch with an engineer who designs this. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of work here. And they had said that it wasn't, right? And so then I get a call from the selling party, and they were basically like, look, they're like, what would it cost for you not, they called me first before I'd put together the email. Right? They had called me and said, hey, what'd you find? And I'm open. I answered their call. No big deal. And I'm like, look, I'm going to tell the buying party that this is a nightmare. But, honestly, and I'm going to give them evidence and things to back it up. And so and they were like, to build off of your point, they were like, well, what would it cost for you not to say that? And I'm like, nothing.
It's not going to happen.
And I think, it's sad that there's times in this industry, in this business, where you're put in that situation. And that's what I want homeowners to take away from that. Anybody listening is like, this stuff really happens. And it's not to scare you, right? It's not to say that it always happens, but 1 in 3 Americans have been taken advantage of by homeowner scams. So like this is a real thing that we need to start, emphasizing that in our world, right? In the world that we see, this is not out of the ordinary.
It's commonplace.
It's commonplace.
It happens too much.
Yeah. I agree. What's another example? What's another crazy one that you got? I like that one. The backwards brick one is really good too.
That was mind blowing. I just wish that everybody in the world could see this job when it was done. Another one, let's think. Funny and masonry aren't huge things, but there's some crazy stories. There was one, let's think here. There's one, I got a good one. Working on a project. These people wanted to import a material, something specialty, worked on it. They had a budget. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
We set all this up. This stuff sits in the port. It gets here. We bring it in. This is where, scheduling contractors, this is all important. Time is money. We bring material and it's sitting in a port. Can't get it out. This was right at the beginning of coronavirus. This is a new story. Just happened.
Holy shit.
So this is sitting there. Coronavirus hits last year. There's a container in Long Beach sitting in the port. They quarantine it. Came from Italy.
Oh, no.
They don't know how to get it out. They would not release this stuff out. So, you're a homeowner, you're building, you want to use something specialty, you have something cool.
Wow.
There's things that are so unpredictable.
Wow.
We get this container out. They literally wiped this whole thing down. It looked like a clean room by the time we got the container. I'm looking at this going, how does that happen? How does that happen? They went through the whole thing to make sure that material didn't have coronavirus. So when you want to talk about jobs and delays, it's not always on a contractor or a supplier.
Wow.
There's wild cards.
Yeah.
They sanitized every single thing in the container in the port because they thought it was all going to carry coronavirus.
That's wild. So you see, and I think what I love about your perspective is you see, like I said, you're kind of like you see the architects and the engineers, right? And where they make mistakes or where they're doing really well even, right? And you also see it from the general contracting side. What are some of the do's and don'ts for homeowners? Like what could you give them as specific advice in hiring an architect, an engineer, or even just a general contractor?
So, architect, engineer side, you have to trust their vision. You're paying somebody to bring what you want to reality.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pay them to design it. And then you're going to say, well, I can't do this and I don't want to do that. Let's not pay for that. But then you paid all this money up front to create a design.
Mm-hmm.
You're putting them in a bad spot because they're going to lose interest.
Mm-hmm.
So you really need to trust the opinions of your designer. You're vetting them just like a contractor. Let them do their job because that's what they get paid to do. Honestly, at the end of the day, that's their forte.
Yeah.
Let them do it. On the contractor side, you just have to, you have to go with somebody that has references. You have to vet it. Don't go to Yelp. Don't go to Google. You can start there, but you have to look. You have to talk to people. Ask your architect. Ask your engineers. All these people know contractors. They all have references, and it's not, that's my best friend or he's a good guy. It's they've done this job for me. They did this job for me. That's what you need. It's not the good old boy network where you just let him pick his neighbor because they're friends and he owes him a favor.
Yeah.
Do the thing I can just stress over and over again. Do your research. Do the looking up. Do the background checks. Do the job looking. You have to do it.
Yeah, otherwise you get a bunch of backwards bricks on your house.
Yeah.
No.
Don't go with the cheap guy without vetting.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Don't throw him away. You gotta look it up.
Yeah. So imagine for a second, I think that's so crucial. Imagine for a second that everyone listening is a family member, right? What are some tips and takeaways that you want them to have in this process of, like I'm sure one of the questions might be, at least I was thinking when you were talking about the architects and the engineers is, at what point does budget come in and what does that look like? What are some tips that you'd give them if they were your family listening to this right now?
That's perfect. So tip number 1, don't ask Uncle Frank who sold 3 houses 20 years ago what a budget for a new house would be in the neighborhood. Because he'll tell you should not build a house that you're going to spend more than $200 a square foot. That could be a half of what the realistic world is today. Everybody's got their uncle or their aunt or their cousin. Pick their brains. Don't hold that as gold.
Okay.
You have to get outside your comfort zone, and you have to just let that go. You need to make sure your budget's established up front. have it in place, because if you get a wrong contractor, your budget at the beginning of whatever it would be is going to skyrocket on the back end of the job, especially if it's done wrong. That's where the undercover contractor comes in. You have to make sure that you're getting a contractor that's bidding jobs properly, building them properly, or else the low guy is going to be the high guy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Change orders are going to become a thing, and you're going to hate every day of your life. Yeah. You're going to look at that house and want to sell it as soon as it's built.
Makes sense. I love that. And to your point, I mean, I think, people, if a contractor was going to build a house, they're not going to face half the issues that, a homeowner might. And so I think it's really important that you're sharing kind of these behind the scenes tips. I mean, that's what this is all about, right? It's to get the realistic kind of boots on the ground perspective of the things that can prepare you. So I really appreciate you being on the show, Jeremy. I think we covered a lot of amazing stuff, and I
awesome.
Truly thank you.
Thanks for having me. Just at the end of the day, do your homework, and you guys will get through it. So.
Love it. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Take care, Matt.
Yep.